Hello, everyone. My name is Dipali Narsikar, and I lead the Allyship at Women in Streaming Media. So, welcome to our Ally of the Month call, and let's start on time to ensure we cover everything. Women in Streaming Media spans globally, and with different time zones in mind, this call is recorded for the convenient viewing, ensuring everyone can participate and learn. Once again, we are excited to have you all with us today. And today's call, especially following IVC, is a wonderful chance for us to come together, share insights, and further our commitment to fostering the inclusivity within the streaming media industry, particularly for women. While Lisa is figuring out the presentation, Lisa, we can see your launch meeting
Sorry.
window, but not
wrong
the
screen. I apologize. Okay. Thank you for telling me.
noise. So today's call agenda is packed with exciting content. And first, I will give you quickly introduction to the Women in Streaming Media Network, our Allyship program, especially for our new members. Then Lisa will introduce you to our Ally of the Month. Following that, we will engage in a AMA session with our Ally of the Month. And we have some curated questions, but feel free to ask anything using the chat window during the call. And finally, we will conclude our call by sharing our upcoming event details. So once again, thank you so much for joining our network. We want to make sure that today's call is meaningful and inspiring experience for everyone. So let's get started. I will start with my introduction. I work as an independent OTT consultant, partnering with OTT platforms and streaming media companies to drive the growth and innovation. But I'm also deeply committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I realize Allyship has played a crucial role in my career, whether the navigating through job transitions or seeking promotion or learning new skill. It has always played a big important role. And since we have always new members coming in, let me quickly introduce you to Women in Streaming Media Network and our Allyship program. As a global networking organization, our mission is to increase diversity, give more visibility to women leaders within the streaming media industry. We have membership program and it's currently free and offers you opportunity to connect with a supportive community of women across the globe in all areas of streaming media industry. It's a chance to engage with like-minded people, share the insights, and learn from each other from the diverse experiences. So after the membership vertical, we have our membership is free, but we do have the speaking engagement team, which is currently actively supporting participation at industry panels such as IBC or NAB. And their aim is to have 40% diversity on panel we participate in. We have award-winning mentorship program, which empowers women in streaming media industry by connecting them with experienced industry leaders and learn from their experiences. Our education team is constantly working on empowering the next generation of women through different initiatives. And in the beginning of this year, which is 2024, we launched the Allyship program, and it's all about taking a real impact by understanding the privilege, raising the awareness, and participating or practicing allyship every day through a small, big actions. We are creating a network of allies in the streaming media industry to lead by example and amplify the women's voices and support the representation for women in streaming media industry. It actually creates the awareness about the challenges women face and importance of active allyship in fostering inclusive work environment. It also recognizes that allyship is more than just accepting diversity and inclusion. It's about talking the it's about taking the meaningful steps every day. It is also actively creating a workplace where everyone feels valued and empowered to contribute their best. It sets a benchmark for other men, showing how to be effective allies and advocates for women in streaming media with individual, interpersonal, or structural efforts. Leaders who embrace the allyship not only enhance their leadership abilities, but also contribute significantly to the growth and success of the business. We would love to see more leaders in the streaming media industry stepping up to lead by example, amplify the women voices, and support their representation. And our allyship program offers flexible structure like AMA section, such as today's session, panel discussions, workshops, and knowledge sharing. All right, wait is over. Let's dive into Ally of the Month introduction. Lisa, over to you.
Okay, well, I just pulled up this slide you can see of all of our former allies of the month.
Yes.
So this is just a nice representation of the male allies that we've had. So this is the first time that we're bringing you a female ally of the month since we started the program. So we're super excited to have Tegan join us today. So Tegan is a bundle of energy. She throws herself into any given task with huge determination and enthusiasm. With the ability to quickly build long-lasting relationships, she thrives globally with individuals throughout the content and media industry, headhunting top talent for technology vendors, broadcasters, and content creators, just to name a few. Tegan utilizes her vast network within the satellite and new space industry, particularly with the operators and service providers. She's passionate about promoting women throughout the industry. She's an advocate for diversity and is able to think creatively about enabling organizations to embrace this topic. So very excited and very appropriate to have this ally of the month. But personally, she is a lover of all sports. So she can often be found watching Brighton and Hove Albion FC. So I tell you personally, I had to look that up because my name is Lisa Craig. I didn't mention that. I'm from Atlanta. And so that is what us Americans call soccer from Sussex, England. Although she says she can often be singing an array of football chants.
It's true.
So she's an avid traveler, having lived previously in Nepal, which is just fascinating, by the way. Has dreams of one day caring for her own vegetable patch and a flock of chickens. So welcome, Tegan, with that lovely background. So we are very excited to have you today. And she comes to us from neuco-Global Executive Search. So this is going to be a great session today. We've got some curated questions that we're going to go through, and having, with your experience, there's going to be a lot for all the women in streaming media to benefit from. So thank you for joining us, Tegan.
Thank you for having me.
So with that, we're going to just jump right into Ask Tegan Anything. So we've got, like I said, some curated questions we're going to talk about, and we're going to start off with some questions around IBC, since everybody's talking about all the buzz about, IBC and how well that went this year. So first of all, can you talk to us about some of the trends that you observed at IBC within the streaming media industry, and how do those trends impact organizational practices and employee engagement in terms of diversity?
Oh, great question. And the general sentiment I personally thought at IBC this year was markedly different from 2023 in a good way. There was increased positivity for sure. It wasn't hard to be any more negative after last year. Last year the buyers weren't buying and the sellers weren't selling, and it almost feels like we're at the bottom and coming back up. The operator and platform side have definitely got some new projects. Things are starting to happen. There's more initiatives going on that side of things. I think we're still lacking a direction of travel. And I think we're still, the industry's still working out a little bit where it's going. But it was very clear that efficiency is everything. It's all about value, value, value. I think we might see more consolidation. But a crucial topic was definitely around cost reduction and price sensitivity. I think there will be an impact on external investment in products and platforms and services. And a lot of people said, there's still too much choice in the market, actually. The vendors have had a really tough 18 months as well. But there was a real sense of optimism in the air. No one's popping champagne just yet, but it did feel more optimistic. And a big trend was definitely that vendors need user cases, and there's many more user cases coming out for their offerings, addressing new markets, and not as much on AI as I was expecting, actually. To how this is related to employee engagement and diversity. Good news, hiring was definitely back on the agenda, which it is fantastic, definitely for me, but for all of us. It's not front and center, but most people I spoke to were hiring, and a lot of that was sales operational roles, senior transformation leaders, product people, technical people, sales individuals, and there was a lot about leadership. Clearly, what the industry is needing right now are talented, experienced leaders. And it was very much on a hiring and employee side of things, quality, not quantity. I think everyone's in the same boat. I do worry that diversity is not as front and center as it was 18 to 24 months ago. But it really struck me afresh this year how really poor the diversity is in the industry still. And it should be, in this period of transformation, front and center now more than ever, in my view. And I think I came away thinking about employee engagement and diversity. We do need to beat the drum louder. Diversity is something that we shouldn't only address when times are good. It should be something that we address all the time. And actually, I think bringing diversity front and center at the moment, we all know diverse teams equal better teams, they equal more productive teams. And in this environment of challenge and transformation, diversity can definitely play a part in creating more opportunities for me.
Okay, wow, that was very thorough, and you gave a lot of amazing insights. I wish that I had the opportunity to go to IBC this year. That would have been great, but a lot of still significant things going on in the industry. And I am surprised too about the AI. I thought that would have been a front and center topic. But it's interesting, the efficiency, the value. Yeah. Not surprised on the continuing consolidation, because that seems to be a trend. But so yeah, the good stuff that we should continue this conversation on. So following that, what advice would you give to companies, in particular in the streaming industry, looking to strengthen their IBC efforts when it comes to integrating diversity and equity and inclusion into their recruitment and leadership strategies? Because like you said, that's not on the forefront than it was a couple of years ago. That was a big buzz thing then. And so, you're hearing other concerns at this time. So how do companies do that to help, bring that into their hiring practices?
I think, first of all, it needs to be a conscious decision. This isn't going to happen subconsciously, and it's not going to happen unless it is actually part of the streaming media industry's strategies on a company level, on an industry level. This has to be a conscious decision we're making. I loved that on day one of IBC Daily, skills and diversity was front page this year as you walk through, and we need more of that. And we need that to be trickling through into organizations. It needs to be, we need to make sure that we're bringing diverse teams to IBC. Why have we still got companies only bringing men to IBC. Organizations that I'm sure will put a great blog out and put on their website that they're encouraging diversity, but then it's only men on booths at trade shows. I think we need organizations to, I would say this, but work with a headhunter, work with your non-executive director, work with the board. There are loads of organizations promoting diversity right now. You guys do a great job. Why not create a long-term leadership strategy? We're not going to change this overnight. I would love to, but there is no magic wand, but we need to be strategic. And I really feel we're quite a strategic industry. We're a strategic industry, and we're an industry that strategizes everything. But why are we not prioritizing and strategizing on increasing diversity? We wouldn't integrate a new solution without planning in our organizations. And we have skills and abilities within the industry to drive powerful transformation. We're good at innovating. We're good at integrating. And I think so we've got the skills, and we just need to take those and apply them to include inclusive leadership strategies.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for that. And I did want to just take a minute too, when you talked about, that companies weren't bringing women and the representation. I think we have a comment about that in the chat as well. But I just want to bring up that DePauli did have the opportunity to facilitate an all-female panel this year at IBC, which is amazing. And I'm not sure that we have an opportunity if that's available for us to watch. I'm sure she'll share that, but that's that's a great thing that happened as well. Okay, so continuing with that, I'd like to building on that, help us talk through, us as women in the industry, from what you saw and the trends that are coming, so that we're well prepared. What kind of skills do we need to stay competitive, so that when those positions do become available, that we're well positioned to get those positions?
It's a really, really good question. From what I'm seeing at the moment, the skills that are in demand, number one, leadership. We are needing really, really strong leaders in the industry right now. And so I think any opportunity, training, course you can take that involves any kind of leadership, from, I don't necessarily mean a team of 50 people, but anything from a mentoring player coach type role right up to that, anything that can involve leadership is a skill that the industry needs, and is something that we can improve on, something that we need to be doing. The other skills are around transformation. And I think it's something that often when an organization needs to transform, it's messy, it's complicated, it's multifaceted. And dealing with those situations is something that women, I think, are naturally very good at. It's a real strength. So anything that can involve upskilling and transformation and project managing a big transformation, it is needed. Technically, anything IP, SaaS, working with complex solutions and stakeholder management skills are skills that organizations are talking with me about. And then this isn't something that I think, I don't know how one can go on a course for this, but for me, nothing beats consistency and experience and time, proving that you can do your thing, be it a technical or a commercial or an operational thing, over and over again, and proving that you have done that. You've got tangible experience of, this is what I can do, and I can back that up with facts and figures and data. The other thing that I think is really important for anyone, but particularly for women who are looking to upskill and potentially look for a new role, is trying not to change roles too often, if possible. So giving yourself good chunks of time at any organization. Now, I know that's easier said than done, and I know that that's maybe not always possible, but hiring managers at the moment are definitely coming to me saying, I want someone who can prove that they've got longevity in the organizations that they're working for. And the other thing that I think is really good to upskill on is interviewing skills. We as women are particularly bad at selling ourselves. Imposter syndrome, I think, can be rife. And so working out, practicing, how can I talk about what I've been responsible for and what I have achieved, and how can I sell my own experience and talk about that in a positive way. Interviewing's not natural. In fact, it's a really weird situation to be in, and we don't interview often. But I think any communication and interviewing skills that we can improve on can really set us in a good place.
Okay, thank you. Those are great tips. I hope everybody got something from that. And just a couple questions, I'll follow up on those. So I was in a leadership session about probably a little more than a year ago, and there was a lot of discussion about women, because you talked about leadership at the beginning of that, and then kind of coming back through about the industry is looking for people with very specific talent, not just general leadership and ability to get, make things happen. But what's your take on that at this point in time?
So your question is, do I think the industry is looking for some very specific talent right now, not so much general skills that cross over? I think the answer is yes, we are in some places, particularly, the industry is in a position right now where we've come from this traditional legacy piece, and we're doing this, for want of a better word, IP streaming transition. I am speaking to companies who say, I'm not so interested in the stuff of 15, 20 years ago. I need individuals who are up to date with where the industry is going. However, they do need people to know where we've come from, and to be able to do a proper transition, you need to know where we've been, where we are, and where are we headed. I think that often if I circle that background to diversity, it's the classic thing, I'm sure you've come across it. Men will look at a job description and there's 10 points, and they'll say, yeah, I can do 4 of those, I'll apply. And women will look at a job description and go, I can only do 9.5, probably not for me. And I think that, yes, we are looking for specific talent, but 2 things. Firstly, we need to remember that we're hiring people, not products, into our organizations. People are not robots. People can upskill, people can learn, and there's no such thing as a perfect person. So if we've got an individual that can bring a lot of value to an organization, we should look at how can we hire that person, and how can we enable them to continue on their career, not just take from their previous experience. And I also think that we as women need to get much better at advocating for our skills and abilities.
So can I ask you what your take is on, like I've had conversations with women, looking for roles in the industry, and some of it has come down to, sort of like, what is the take on ageism? Because, I actually had one conversation with somebody recently that said, particularly in Europe, they're seeing where, people of, like my generation are getting skipped over, and they're just bringing in young people to bring above them. So I'm just curious what your take is on that.
I have seen less of that, though I have seen that happening. I think the types of roles that I personally talk to organizations about tend to be mid to senior and C-suite level roles. So the territory that I work in, it comes with it. I have to be hiring individuals that have experience. So I don't see as much of that. However, I do think that is a problem in mid-level roles within the industry right now. And I think it's a real problem particularly for women returning to work who might have had time out due to having raised a family, or even relocating, or whatever it is. I definitely think that it is an issue. I don't necessarily know what the answer is. However, I do think it's really important that we call it out for what it is. I think that is really, really important. And I will, when I have come across these situations, I will either say, well, I'm not the headhunter for you then. You need to, I'm telling you, this is a great person for this role. I'm not the person for you. But I don't have any easy answers to that question, but it definitely happens.
Thank you. Thank you for addressing that and being honest. Okay, so let's move on to women in leadership. So how is the streaming media industry working to increase women's participation in leadership roles? And are there any specific programs or initiatives that have proven effective in promoting gender equality at top levels in the industry?
Yeah, I'm going to really disappoint everyone now and say that I don't know if I have the magic answer to this question. And I actually haven't seen across APAC, EMEA, North America, LATAM, Australia, New Zealand, I actually haven't seen a particular program or initiative that is really truly tackling this problem from within the industry. I think it's a gap within the industry, to be completely honest. But I do think there are three things that I have seen happen, not through an initiative, but I have seen happening in the industry that are really impacting diversity on a C-suite leadership level. Firstly, the power of mentoring, which I know is something that is very relevant for women in streaming media. And that doesn't always have to be a woman mentoring a woman. That could be a man who's in a leadership position offering mentoring, because there is crossover there. But I think the power of mentoring is crucial, actually, and fundamental to solving that problem. I also think the power of networking, it is really, really important. Networking and advocacy. So many of these top level leadership roles, they're not advertised. You're not going to see them on a job board. They are, I know somebody, I'm hiring a friend, I'm hiring someone I used to work with, or they come to an executive headhunter and that individual is proactively headhunting people. So I really think being at networking events, being seen, working out, okay, who do I need to talk to, who could introduce me or advocate for me within the industry is really important. This is a relational industry. It always bothers me that things are done on the golf course, because I don't play golf. I kind of wish I did. I think it would appeal to me, but it's that old-fashioned type of, these things are decided on golf courses. Well, in which case I think we need to make sure, where possible, where childcare allows, where travel allows, that we're at the networking events, that we're making an effort to introduce ourselves to the right people. And I think that will help. And then finally, I think the third thing that is going to make a difference is what I call the power of consistency. It's consistently showing up, consistently being exceptional. A lot of the women in this industry, you know, they were the only engineer in their class and they had to work really hard to be there. Then they were the only engineer in the junior team, the only engineering head of department, and so it goes on. And they've had to be exceptional people. And I think if we are consistently excellent and we have to be consistent in our communication and our advocacy of ourselves and what we do. So it's not really an initiative, but I think the power of mentoring, networking, and consistency are what will turn the tide.
Okay, and just again, a quick question, side note here about when you talked about, you know, like a lot of these positions are in these top leadership positions are networking. And that's what I think a lot of us have heard, right? You've got to network, and it is work. That's why it's got work in it. But, you know, like it is an interesting time too with, you know, LinkedIn and all the different job boards. And, you know, you see, you know, like people that are looking for positions, and have done that myself. And you go out and look for something that, you know, you're like you talk about, I could probably do 9 out of 10 of the things on there. And, you know, maybe you say, okay, I think I'll go ahead and apply for it. And then you realize you're like one of 600. So we're seeing these mass influx of people applying. And I think probably, I'm guessing on some of that, you're seeing people that are not qualified at all, you know, or, you know, very little qualifications, but it's easy to apply for these easy to apply jobs. That's what's kind of coming into play too. Seeing salary numbers or something and thinking, sure, I'd like to make $500,000. So I'll put in for that.
Yeah,
So any tips on that for people looking for a position?
Yeah, good. It's a really, really good question. A few things I think that come to mind. Firstly, if there is a job that you see on a job board and there are 600 people that have applied to it, I would firstly say, don't just do an application, though please do an application, and please make sure that all the buzzwords in that job advert, you have evidenced and included them in your application. So on a very simple level, if the job advert says must have experience with IP networks or SaaS solutions, make sure that you have IP networks and SaaS solutions in your CV, resume, cover letter, etc. Secondly, I would say find out, and LinkedIn is brilliant, who do I think the hiring manager for this is? If you are applying for a head of North America sales role, who's the chief revenue officer or who's the chief sales officer at the company? Find out on LinkedIn, drop them a letter. Sorry, oh my gosh, it's 1990. Drop them a note, send them a LinkedIn message, send them an email, but find out their details, because it sets you apart. Oh my goodness, this person has taken the effort to also drop me a note. Find out who HR is. Drop them a note. I just wanted to alert you to the fact that I have applied to this role. I look forward to hearing from you. Or find out if they've got an internal talent team and do the same. And I'll do all three. The other thing that I think is really important, and I saw that you've had Adam Tilbury-Eld as an ally of the month, and he is exceptional on this. And I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying, if you've got questions on this, reach out to him. But use LinkedIn a bit like your shop window. Your resume is there to secure you a conversation, but most hiring managers these days will go and look at your LinkedIn profile, sometimes before they even look at any application. So make sure that is up to date and looking good. And I think your LinkedIn profile is where you can set yourself apart. Anyone can, on a very simple front, anyone can say that they're a team player. But if you're constantly putting things on LinkedIn and talking about the team, or you're talking about what you think diversity and innovation should be, or a product that's changing the market right now, post on LinkedIn and show off your knowledge, show off the value that you can add to an organization, so that when that chief sales officer looks at your profile, he goes, oh my goodness, I think these things too. That's what I need in my organization. It's not about the likes. It's not about how many people engage with that post, but it's about showing that you can add credibility and value into an organization. Those would be my kind of top things. And I'd also say, if you know of anyone within the organization, ask them to put in a good word for you. That can speak wonders.
Okay, thank you. And then you talked about AI earlier, and of course, you know, I think everybody's just taking job descriptions and ripping it through an AI tool to add that in the resume, which makes it more complicated, even I'm sure for the hiring managers when you've got 600 applicants for a position.
Yeah, it really, really does. And I don't think it's a good thing. I think there are lots of things that we can use AI to help with. But again, I have to come back to the fact that any type of hiring is people-centric. We're talking about people that make up our businesses, and this is people's lives here, and individuals can't be summed up through an AI machine, and you can't. I just don't understand how an AI tool can adequately assess if a person can bring value to a business. Is my take on it. That doesn't help, but that is what I think.
Right. Well, I think part of it is people want to feel like at least their resume will make it into the smaller bucket, right? And if they don't have those buzzwords and things, that probably is probably.
Yeah, agreed.
So recruitment, what the recruitment trends are rapidly evolving in the streaming industry. How are companies adapting their strategies to attract diverse talent, particularly in terms of inclusive hiring practices?
Yeah, this is a really, really good question. So I get to see into lots of different organizations, and everyone's on a different place on the journey with this. I work with some organizations where they will say it is non-negotiable, 50% of the shortlist has to be made up of diverse talent. And if we don't have 50% of the shortlist being diverse, we're not moving forwards to interview. I think that's a really, really good strategy and policy, because it means that you are actually putting your money where your mouth is. You're actually proactively, you're not trying to do it quickly. And I think that's the problem. Sometimes we just try and hire quickly to solve a problem in the short term, and we don't always think about the long-term health of the company, which of course means increasing diversity. So I think that's a really good policy to have. I work with a couple of organizations that incentivize headhunters and recruitment companies to place diverse individuals. So I work with some organizations that, to be very blunt, they pay us more if we manage to place somebody who is a woman or ticks a diversity box. Not that it's about that, but they say, look, we really want diversity and we'll pay you more if you can help us with that. I really think, though, often proactive headhunting is often the best way to get diverse talent. You might say, of course, you think that is your job, that's what you do. But the reason that I think that is because often, and again, particularly women, they're the best of the best. They're the best in their class. They are exceptional individuals that are absolutely killing it in whatever it is they're doing. And they've worked really hard to get to where they've got to be. They're not out of work. They're often not looking for a job. And so if we want to, particularly at a C-suite level, bring in female talent, you've got to go out and get it. And then you've got to offer them true flexibility. They're the best, that they're not always going to be cheap talent. They deserve the salaries that they're commanding, and if you're serious, that's what they need to pay. You need to pay them. So I think that it's not just about the recruitment, it's also about the retention. Again, if we're serious about increasing diversity, we've got to look at our maternity policies. We've got to look at our work from home policies. And I'm an office girl, by the way. You can probably tell I'm super extroverted. I love being around people, but sometimes I need to work from home for family reasons. It's non-negotiable. We need to be actually incorporating these things into our organization's policies. We need to be increasing podcasts, roundtables, panels. We need to actually partner and invest in organizations like Women in Streaming Media. Oh yeah, I've got a woman in my organization. She goes to some of those things. Great. How about we actually partner and you actually take advice from people on how we can turn talk into action?
Those are thank you. That's great advice, and it's great insight into what you're sharing with us. Are you seeing, like inclusivity in workplaces? Do you have any examples of companies that you've seen that you feel like have done a really good job at that?
I haven't partnered with a company who I think is absolutely crushing it, to be completely honest. I think the companies that are doing best in it are the companies where there are male leaders beating the drum for this as well. And I think having that allyship is crucial. What I would say though is when I joined Neuco, I was the only woman in the organization for 2.5 years, and now we're over 50% women. So wow. From my own experience of working at Neuco, the things that have worked, we've really, really focused on upskilling and flexibility and hiring on the individual and their potential, not just the skills that they have right now that they come with. It's hiring the right person first, and then we'll look at the skills that need to be improved later. I think it's also, though, the organizations that are doing well, they're giving voice to women within the organization, and they're acting on the things that they're asking for. It's not just fill in a form and that's great, we've done our bit. It's turning listening into action. And I think the last thing in organizations that I see that are doing this well, it's truly a collaborative effort, and that is really important.
Okay, so Tegan, as a global recruiter, executive recruiter, what 3 pieces of advice would you offer to women in streaming media for effectively managing their careers?
This is a great question. The 3 things that I would say would be relish the challenge, be collaborative, and don't settle for second best. So you are going to have to work harder. You are going to have to think smarter. You're going to have to be the role model that you couldn't see. We are the trailblazers, which is exciting, but sometimes it is frustrating and it is lonely, but we are here doing this, and by doing these things we will influence change. And I think it's important to not just look at what's wrong, but look back and to see how far we've come, which is we have come far. There's still a way to go, but we have come far. And it is an honor to be flying the flag and fighting the fight. I think we've got to be solutions focused, not just obstacle focused. And we are changing the tide, but we do need to be patient. And so I would say relish the challenge of building, cultivating, growing your career. It's fantastic, and there are people there who want to help. And so that is stay collaborative. What's one of our values actually as a company is collaboration, and it's what holds everything together. And I think it's the same to manage your own career. We need each other. It's really, really important. We need each other, and be it mentoring down or receiving mentoring up, work with other individuals in the industry. It's a nice industry. People want to give advice. They want to help. Learn from mistakes together. Talk to people. Find out who's the best person in my job type in the industry. Ask them for a virtual coffee. Most people will say yes. Go out and seek collaboration. We're better together than independently. And really, really do not settle for second best. Too many women will take second best, and we've got to stop that. So everything we do, we need to make sure it's exceptional. Second best is not okay, and we don't have to accept it. So those would be my 3 things: relish the challenge, be collaborative, and don't settle for second best.
Excellent advice. So we would like to open this up for questions that anybody has, but before we do, I just wanted to ask, so I know that you are a headhunter, right? So your job is to go find talent for companies, but how do women in the women in streaming media, how do they get with you so that you're on their radar as possible candidates for some of these positions that you're recruiting for?
Yeah, great question. The easiest thing is probably to drop me a note on LinkedIn, or please feel free to circulate my email address. It's on our website, but please just circulate that. I would say just drop me a note, say, hi, heard of you through Women in Streaming Media, would love to connect, and then let's book in a call. And a lot of what I do is talking to people, which suits me. So we can have a call and go from there. I'm never going to be able to make jobs grow on trees, and I might not have something available right now that would suit you, but it's great to be connected because I never know what's coming into my inbox tomorrow. And a lot of what I often do as well is not just the I have this job, are you interested? But I also have conversations with a lot of senior leaders, and sometimes they say to me, oh, we have this problem and we don't really know how to, I don't know, open up the North American market, or we've got a problem with our team in APAC, and I don't quite know what to do. I think we might need to bring someone in. And that's not necessarily an open job there. But if I know of people, I can say, actually, I might have someone I can call. Would you be interested in a conversation with someone? And it's high level, but you never know where those conversations will lead. So I can keep an ear close to the ground for people.
Excellent. Okay, so I will open it up for anybody that has questions that would like to jump in at this point. It's time to ask Tegan anything. Anybody?
Well, let's start with comments. I think, first of all, thank you very much. That was extremely good, energizing, and absolutely true. It feels a bit unfair that we have to be working harder, but unfortunately, it is what it is. I had that with my own company, what you said about sending women to IBC, and my company this year only sent men. So my colleague and I just decided we go, which was a bit of a tricky situation because we couldn't go and not represent the company, but we decided we go anyways and just spend time on networking and meet clients. Well, I met my clients anyways, and then we could just go for the meetings we found interesting, because that was the positive of it. It's like, well, I'm going with my own money, so I will do what I like doing. But it feels like we had to push in. I mean, a good outcome of that was that our CEO was running around telling our boss yesterday how we were being social butterflies and made lots of connections and introduced them to lots of people. So I think we earned our place for next year. But yeah, it feels like you have to go and earn it, and sometimes really push for it. So yeah, very much resonates with what you've been saying. So not so much a question, but thank you for this.
No, I completely agree. And I think it's a good way of putting it. Sometimes we do have to push in. And it's fantastic that you did. You shouldn't have to, but you did. And I think that opens doors for the future.
Absolutely. And, thank you so much, Tegan. You have given so many, great tips. Like sometimes networking and talking to industry people feel like, okay, what I'm going to talk. But those are the kind of discussions which might open the doors for us for the future opportunities. And coming back to LinkedIn, we had one Ally of the Month, Adam, and he has shared a lot of tips with us. And since then, we started conversions on the LinkedIn, whether it's commenting, whether it's liking. But I always have this curiosity, like LinkedIn has a great feature of recommendation. Does recruiter actually see the recommendations, or is recommendation part plays any role in structuring your profile on LinkedIn?
Yeah, it's a really, really good question. I think the recommendations, I think it depends who's writing them. So if you were going on that person's profile because you were interested in a service that they were providing, and this person said, oh, I went to this person and they offered me a great service and it was great, that is good. As a recruiter, I personally don't pay an awful lot of attention to the recommendations. For me, I want to see tangible experience of what somebody has done and achieved. If somebody has done 15 years at a company and I can see they've had some promotions and they're now leading a team, I know they're good at what they do, because if they weren't in that position, they wouldn't be. So I think recommendations are helpful and I think it is good to have them, but I wouldn't overly worry if there aren't lots of them there.
Amazing. Any other questions from our audience?
Hi, sorry, Wendy here. My voice is still terrible. I'm very sick. Tegan, but I had to jump in. So I'm based in South Africa, in Johannesburg. And my experience as being someone, a female in the space, is outside of the fact that I'm female, there's also the cultural bias of you don't find many Black females from traditional African households even venturing into the space. And then when you do, there's always the question of skill sets. There's also the question of capacity, but the question also of, as a woman, this is not necessarily a role in the space you should be performing in. So I think, what kind of encouragement would you give? And I don't know if you've even experienced this, that cultural bias that comes with it. How would you frame it? Because the women that I speak to, the younger girls, Black girls within the space, always ask, like, is it even worth fighting? Is it even worth it? Will this ever change? Is this an our generation thing, or do we still need to wait for another 2 or 3? So how have you had that kind of experience, and how do you manage that?
Oh, wow. How long have you got, Wendy? I'm really sorry as well that has been your experience. It is far from okay. And yes, I have come across that, both professionally in the work that I do, and also my husband is Mauritian, and so I see that on a personal point of view too, through the racial bias that he has had to encounter.
Yeah.
I wish I had an easy answer. I do think it is changing. I do think it is changing, and I do think that the generation of individuals coming in is it is better than it ever has been. What would I say? What would my advice be? I think my advice would be, firstly, on a very, very practical level, if I was in that situation and applying for jobs and wanting to get my next role, I would make sure things like my CV and my resume are as excellent as they can be, because that's what opens doors and gets conversations. So I would make sure that those things are fantastic, because once somebody it will very clearly become evident that anyone in that situation is capable and able to do their role. I also think we have to call it out. I think we have to call it out when we can and when we have the energy to do so. But I know that is not always easy, and it is still something that I see often. And I personally, I've been asked recently, I want to hire a white man. It is something that I have recently come across, and then I'm not the person to help you with that. And I think the more people that target this and that refuse to allow this kind of behavior in 2024, the better.
Got you. Thanks for that.
Great. And I think the awareness is increasing. What I observed during the IBC this year, specifically, their talent program, which focuses on diversity and inclusion, kind of, bringing these conversations together. Imagine 45,000 visitors from more than 160, 65 countries. And these conversations is a kind of sign that, yes, we are talking, but we need such more conversations. And wherever you get the opportunity, whether it's on LinkedIn, on any event or during the forum, panel, please speak out about these things.
It's advocacy and education. It is so important. It's a shame that it's got to come from within, but the more we can educate and advocate, the better.
And that's where we need the allies, and we need the advocates and champions in the industry. Awesome. Any other questions? Okay, as we wrap up this insightful session, I want to thank you, Tegan, and you have generously shared the highlights of the IBC, your valuable experience with us, and really, really big thank you from the Women in Streaming Media for that. Building a supportive network for women in streaming media is not just beneficial, but it's essential for enhancing the diversity in streaming media industry. Tegan, we really appreciate your efforts to promote the diversity, and thank you for sharing your experience, helping our members to learn and grow from your experience, and your support means a lot to us. Now, as we conclude, let's carry forward the energy and inspiration from this conversation. Thank you to our members who has joined today, our Allyship team, for creating this platform for the Allyship related conversations. And for more discussions, collaborations, you can connect with Tegan on LinkedIn. You can also write to us on email at allyship@womeninstreamingmedia.org. Quick reminder about our monthly remote member meetup is happening next Thursday, September 26th at 9 a.m. PST, 11 a.m. EST, and 4 p.m. BST. Check out our LinkedIn page to find out who is our guest for the month, and don't miss the opportunity to learn from them. Stay connected by following us on LinkedIn. Sign up on our website. Our monthly newsletter is exclusive for our members. And please sign up if you haven't signed up yet. And your feedback is important to us. Let us know what you like in this conversation and where we can improve by filling out Ally of the Month feedback form, which is pasted in the chat window. Thank you so much once again for being such a great audience, and thank you, Tegan, for being such an awesome ally.
Thank you.
See you next month to meet our another fabulous ally. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.